tonight's call, we have a guest on here, and that's Tommy Lalonde. This is our monthly call. Subject to please ask any questions that you may have. We're going to be putting Tommy on the spot, and we're going to be talking about his successes and when he first got into Subject to. Well, first of all, Tommy, introduce yourself. I wasn't even thinking. So, Tommy, introduce yourself. Where do you do business, and how did you get in this business?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a structural engineer during the daytime, and decided in 2017 that I needed to figure out how to own a rental home, and I was scared to death of it because naturally, as a license holder with the state of Texas, I'm a target for lawsuits. So I never wanted to own anything that could be taken from me. And then, somebody introduced me to some legal folks that were able to show me anonymity that would hide everything I own from any search. And that got me excited about real estate. And then I went down the path of course, trying to figure out how to buy a home like everybody starts off with. And eventually found out about Roger. I forgot how I found out about Roger. Actually, Roger, the dentist guy. I found out about Dennis first and went to a couple of his classes. And that must have been through Dennis that I found out about you, and eventually took your class. And that really opened up the possibility of how to get a home quickly without going through the hurdles of trying to negotiate a deal and financing and potentially losing that lead. So it was a great Subject to class. So I still spend my time. I'm a full-time structural engineer. I also own another company that we just called back in December that has nothing to do with real estate. But my passion's still engineering. But I've learned over the last 5 years that real estate's just something that for me personally, I love about as much as I love engineering. And so every opportunity I get, I acquire more real estate, and so I'm kind of it's kind of a bad habit my family tells me I have, that I need to stop looking at houses because I can't seem to stop buying houses. But yeah, Subject to, it's a wonderful tool to be able to take down more homes quickly. And I found that to be a real good niche of mine back in 2018, 2019, 2020. A great strategy that I came up with that allowed me to really take a lot of homes down. Of course, back then I didn't know, early on, I was studying so much, and I spent a lot of time with people like Roger and other people around the country that are really kind of experts in real estate. And I spent a lot of time learning acquisition. And then that first year and a half that I acquired so many homes, I realized, I can't afford to keep these homes. I don't know what to do with them. And so I was selling them as quick as I was acquiring them for just a little bit of money in many cases. But eventually I figured out how the exit strategy works and how to actually keep homes long term, and that evolved into going from learning Roger's quick takedown strategy to long term holds. And so that's kind of my summary of real estate over the last 5 years. There's a lot to it. I think I've seen some of y'all's just correspondence in general with real estate gurus on the hundreds of different ways of finding a property and different ways of getting rid of a property. And there's just a lot of opportunities to really focus on.
There you go. So we talked a couple of weeks ago. I apologize. I'm not at my normal desk, so I don't have my notes in front of me, but was it an insurance challenge you were having, or what was that?
Yeah, that actually popped back up again last week. So a home that I did a Subject to on in Abilene back in, I don't know, maybe 2020 or so. Subject to, it was a easy slam dunk. Guy he'd only been in the house for a year, so he had he had no equity in the house, couldn't sell it. And so it was the perfect subject too, when there's next to no equity. We took it down and we did a little renovation on it. And then I owner financed it out a few months later and wrapped the mortgage. So I kept, this guy's, I forgot his name, but we kept his mortgage in place. And at the time, I forgot who the mortgage was with, the first lien mortgage, but fast forward to today, and it's Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper is who holds the first lien on it. So we had an issue come up where the insurance, because the mortgage changed hands a couple of times, the first lien mortgage holder, trying to keep the paperwork in place with the insurance company and the person that lives in the house that actually has the deed to the house, the folks that bought it from us through owner financing, they didn't follow what they were supposed to do. And when the mortgage changed, they didn't update the mortgage company with the right insurance information. Or in fact, when their insurance changed, I think that's what it was. They may have switched insurance companies and failed to tell the insurance company that, oh, by the way, you've got to keep this other power of attorney in place to make sure that the original homeowner who has the first lien or had the first lien, so that his name stayed attached to the insurance. So that fell through the cracks, and it took us a little bit of time to get the insurance company to finally correct how they had the insurance written, because Mr. Cooper was sending letters saying, hey, there's no insurance on this house, and we're the first lien position holder, and we're gonna force insurance on it. And the people that live in the house, they were a nervous wreck because they were, in their mind, they had no insurance on the house, even though they were paying for insurance. And Mr. Cooper saying there's no insurance. And so it took me going to Roger and trying to get help from Roger on how do I approach this without triggering anything that could potentially get back to Mr. Cooper and maybe push the due on sale clause and force paying that mortgage off. So Roger walked me through it, and we got everything squared away, and the insurance company finally understood, and they sent the right paperwork to Mr. Cooper. Well, they did. Lo and behold, we get a letter last week from Mr. Cooper saying, Roger, you don't know this. Mr. Cooper sent a letter saying, hey, we got the updated insurance, but the original homeowner, his name is not on the insurance policy. And who is this person named whose name is on the insurance policy? We don't know who these people are. That's not who the mortgage is with. And so once again, I had to jump on the phone with the insurance company last week and called the insurance agent in Abilene and told her what had happened. And she's like, Tommy, I am so sorry. The underwriting department, they had all the correct information. I plugged it in the system correctly, but why they chose not to include the power of attorney information when they submitted their letter of insurance to Mr. Cooper, she said, I have no idea, but we're going to get it corrected and sent over. So knock on wood, that's corrected, and we don't get a due on sale clause demand from Mr. Cooper. We'll see.
Wow.
But with to this day, we've done a lot of subject twos, and in terms of owner financing, we have a lot of homes we've owner financed out.
Good
And
deal.
I don't want to lose them because the interest rates are like in the 2% range. We were fortunate to find a small community bank that understands what we do with owner financing. And with all of my rental homes that I have and all of my owner finance homes that I have, my small community bank, they're people that basically review our financials every year. They love my owner financing model and the wrap mortgage model. They love it because they're like, Tommy, like, we don't have to worry about those homes because you don't have people calling you when there's a repair because you're not the owner. You're a middleman.
Right.
So wrapping mortgages with a small community bank that understands that concept, we're a real low risk to them financially, as opposed to a typical landlord where we have turnover.
Right. Absolutely. So I know the market has changed a little bit because I remember you saying that when you first got into the business, you were doing a lot of marketing on Facebook.
I was using a software that allowed me to take as much information as possible, dump it into one bucket, and set filters on it to extract information out. So, for example, I would keep in touch with foreclosure list, updated foreclosure list. So we would actually pull directly from the counties, and I set up a system where I was tapped into all 9 counties. They cover North Texas, and I had a couple people. I had 3 employees, 1 in South America and 2 in the Philippines. My 2 employees in the Philippines were extracting this information every day for me, gathering all this data, dumping it into a spreadsheet, filtering the spreadsheet for me, and taking specific information and dumping it into my Dropbox, where I would then take it and dump it into my software. So basically, I would take courthouse data, dump it into my software once it's filtered out, scrubbed, and layer it with other information. So, for example, with all of our county records that deal with who owns a home, for all of you who know how that works, like your own property taxes, your own property tax bill, it knows if you're over 55 or not. It knows the age of your home, if it's owner occupied or not. So we take all of the key information about a house, plug all of that into the software. So we take as much data as possible from any source we can get it, dump it all in, and I call those pain points. And so I just set filters on my software and say, okay, let me turn on all the filters for these hundreds of thousands of entry points. Turn on all filters for maybe over 65, maybe owner occupied, maybe not, or maybe it's a home over 30 years of age, or maybe it's a home that's less than 5 years of age. Whatever it is, I would set those filters and extract out a list of, okay, here's every home that hits that checks all the boxes. And I would take that list, because all I have is addresses and homeowners' names from the county records. So I'll take the homeowner name and address, then send it to my skip tracing company, skip trace all that data. And this is where Facebook comes in. Now I take that data and I shoot it over to a third-party Facebook marketing person that I found on, it was either Upwork or one of the other freelance sites. And they would take and build a little Facebook marketing campaign that would dance ads around people's social media for my company. So I wouldn't reach out to them directly, but we would let social media show our ad when they would open up Facebook. And if it was somebody that hit all of those trigger points for me, which means they're likely to be a motivated seller if they hit enough triggers, that's how we get our phone to ring. Let me give you a good example of a real, probably one of the first ones was a school teacher, a husband and wife, both school teachers in Venus. Do y'all know where Venus is? Just south of Mansfield. So Venus is
South Burlington, if they don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So this husband and wife school teacher, nothing wrong with their credit, not in foreclosure, just normal people like us for the most part. I'm not too normal, but they wanted to sell their house, but they didn't want to deal with realtors, and they didn't want to deal with inspectors and showing it, and they just wanted to get rid of sell their house. And so they saw our ad and reached out to us. And so here's how I negotiated the deal. Real simple. It was, and I'm going to make up the numbers here just for numbers, but let's say the house was worth, $200,000 ARV after repair value. And maybe their payoff at the time was 130 more balance on their mortgage. So, we just back into the numbers of repair cost to get it up to top value, selling cost to sell the house with, title and realtor fees. And we back down to what the house is worth. And so we always present people with a couple options. It's, hey, option one is, Mr. Homeowner, your house is worth $200,000, you owe $130,000, it needs $50,000 in renovations to get it to top dollar, to get it to the $200,000 value. If you go do all of that for us, we'll write you a check for $200,000 now. You just go take care of all that for us. Nobody would ever take us up on that because nobody really had the time or money to put the $50,000 in it themselves to get it to top dollar for me to pay them $200,000. But they always love the next option, which is here's what we'll do. When it's all said and done, if we put the $50,000 into it ourselves and sell it, you're looking at maybe at the end of the day with realtor fees and closing costs, you're looking at walking away with say $25,000 in profit as the homeowner if you were to do all this yourself. And so what we're going to do is we'll do what's called a subject to, where if you were to do all this yourself and make 25,000, then we'll shortcut that for you and we'll give you 10,000 now and do a subject to on your house so that we have the right to be able to control your house and work on it. And this is all done with attorneys and so it's all something that complies with all the real estate laws, which is way over my head. So we deal with real estate attorneys, but we'll do a subject to where we put the title of the home into our name. Then we'll put our $50,000 into it to renovate it. And then once we've done that, then we'll list it for sale. Oh, by the way, you got to move out, of course, right away, but we're giving you $10,000 to get out. And you move on, because in this particular case, they were wanting to move anyway, and they already had a house picked out. And this is a great option for them because in their mind, here's the deal. In their mind, it's this company, my company, we're gonna let them forego all of the pain they didn't want to go through with realtors and inspections and negotiations and having to clean the house and having to fix everything that was broken in the house. They didn't want to do any of that. But I was giving them the chance to walk away with $10,000 in their pocket. And then once we renovated it and sold it, this is again back before I knew how to hold on to houses. Once we renovate it and sell it, we get all of our $50,000 back, and whatever the total profit is on the house, we'll split it with them 50-50. Okay. So let's say the total profit, had they put their own 50,000 into it and sold it, maybe the total profit would have been, and 25 would have been a high number. Maybe it was going to be $10,000 in total profit. But by going our method, our route, and there's no guarantee they would even get that $10,000 because with negotiations and who knows what else inspectors might find, they may walk away with zero. I mean, that's the gamble they take. So with my method, we give them $10,000 right away. They move out. We put in our $50,000. We get it to top dollar. We sell it, and then once it's sold, we get our $50,000 back plus the $10,000 up front, and then we split the profit difference. Okay, so if any of y'all are doing the math in your head, I don't make much money on that, right? Like, there's no money. Well, here's where I make my money. Those are all retail prices on renovations, and I have the ability for what they think in my spreadsheet I built out, where I plug in everything that has to be remodeled on the house. I've got, if y'all know what worksheets are inside of a workbook of a spreadsheet, my worksheets, I've got the retail worksheet where I plug in all of the renovation needs, and that auto populates into the contractor pricing worksheet. So what they think costs me $50,000 may cost me $25,000. And so, or in reality, it's more like, it's like a 2x factor. So I'm getting money on the sale of the house for their perceived profit of maybe $10,000, plus I'm getting the $25,000 in renovation profit all in my pocket. So what I've done is I've essentially stepped in, let them give me their house for a signature on a piece of paper, and $10,000 I gave them in exchange. And when it's all said and done and we sell the house, I walk away with $30,000 where they would have walked away with maybe 5 or 10 if they had gone their route. So that became a real popular approach I took with a lot of houses that we purchased that way, using Subject 2. So, and that particular family also found us through Subject 2, but then through Facebook. I think most of our leads came through Facebook. Yeah, because we didn't, other than directly reaching out to people on the foreclosure list, those were just direct contacts.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you reached out to them, what is the first thing you did? Did you go meet them at the property, or what did you? How did you structure that?
Yeah, so one of my folks in the office, Jennifer, who's a lot nicer to talk to than I am. She and I always went together as a team. That way, I'm the analytical person figuring things out, and she's the nice, laid-back person that's, easy to talk to. And so she kind of kept it personal, and I kind of kept it more business. So we would tag team people on making sure they kind of saw the best of both personalities. And yeah, I would say the majority of homes we went to, they always did a Subject 2. I mean, very seldom did they not want to. And I got to tell you, my best Subject 2, this was one of my, that was a deal where I happened to be driving through the neighborhood as an engineer, going to look at a property I was hired for, and I saw a sign in the yard, and I thought, man, this is kind of a cool neighborhood. It's an entry-level neighborhood in the Colony, of all places, where like this is where you kind of want to be for appreciation, as opposed to like, well, everywhere it's appreciated now, but I saw the sign and I thought, man, let me just call. I'm just curious, it's probably already sold anyway, but let me just call. And I called, and the realtor's like, yeah, so sorry, the house isn't for sale anymore. I'm like, oh no, I missed it. And she's like, no, we can't sell it. I'm like, what do you mean you can't sell it? She said, well, I got the listing, I put it up for sale, and we've had multiple offers, but the problem is we can't close it in time. I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, it's coming up for foreclosure. The family that lives there, they're about to lose their house, and it's coming up for foreclosure. And I don't know we were probably a week away from it at that point. And she said, we had offers that the owner loved, but the title company there was no way to get it done in time before the foreclosure. I said, well, darn it. I said, I think I might be able to help. And that was my second or third or fourth Subject 2. But I immediately called my attorney that I use for doing the paperwork. I was like, Jeremy, hey, this thing's going into foreclosure on Tuesday. Like, can you move that quick? He's like, yeah, of course. And so I went back to the realtor and I said, look, I think I can help. And more importantly, I think I can save this family from going into foreclosure and ruining their credit. And best of all, I can still get you a little bit of commission, probably not the whole 3%, because they're upside down on the house, but I know I can get you something. But hear me out. Let me just kind of tell you how the process is going to work. And I walked it through with her, and she was like, well, this sounds weird to me, but here's the information for the homeowner. Talk to the homeowner and see if that's something they want to do. And they were like, this is brilliant. Like, holy cow, why has nobody told us about this? And so we were over there that Saturday, right before foreclosure, on the court steps, and processed the paperwork and called the bank on Monday, the day before foreclosure, and wired the arrearages straight to the mortgage company, which shut down the mortgage, shut down the foreclosure. And the rest is history. That house we've had for 4 years or something like that.
Wow.
And so that was like one of the coolest feelings ever. I made the realtor some money. I put money in the homeowner's pocket. They were literally, I don't know, they were maybe $16,000 behind in mortgage payments. And he had lost his job like 4 or 5 months earlier, after they'd only been in the house for a couple of years, but they were completely, like, their bank was drained, and they were just at the very end. And it was really unfortunate. And I ended up giving them I want to say maybe $5,000 or $10,000. And it was mostly to give them a little bit of money to move, to get out, and also a little extra money in their bank account. And turned around and owner financed it out, and all the money I put into that deal, I received all of that back. So I always take 20% down payments on owner financing. So I got all that money back, and the arrearages I paid out, plus the commission I paid to the realtor, plus the money I paid to the family. By the time I got all of that back in my down payment, I still had money in my pocket, and now I've got a 30-year mortgage being paid to me. So that was one that was not a lot of equity in it when I took it down, but it still it worked out perfectly. And that one house right there, I think I haven't looked at that in a long time. I got a spreadsheet with all of my properties. I think that property right there, my monthly cash flow on it's like $900 or something like that. That's the difference between the first lien mortgage principal and interest and my principal and interest to the family that bought it for me. Just $900 a month profit for not being a landlord. Pretty cool. All because of the subject two.
There you go. So you said you've had that 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
So appreciation's gone out the window, right?
Well, no, because I owner financed it.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, their appreciation's
I don't own it anymore, but I own the note.
Yeah.
So if they ever sell it, then I'll take a nice big equity payoff.
That's right.
Because my equity spread in it at this point is probably $80,000 or $90,000 on that house, and that'll just keep growing.
So when you're working with these people, so you're going in, you've got Jennifer in your office. That is the calm one, I guess. Is that the best way to put that? Maybe, I don't know.
She's just the more likable one.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah.
I mean, that's half the business, right? You've got to be a likable person, or nobody will do business with you.
Absolutely. It's you're 100% right. And I don't see where, I don't know why you'd have to bring her, because you're a great guy. You're a lot of fun to talk with, a lot of fun to be around. But I get what you're saying, and I get, sometimes they're more at ease, especially sometimes if there's a female in the mix, that seems to calm things down, because they don't think we're just another one of those investors out there that's trying to do something. Yeah. We know there's a lot of properties out there right now that have just absolutely phenomenal interest rates that we can pick up. There's a few marketing areas on that I work with to try, target, just like you said, on the tax rolls, and you can pull those reports up. So looking for people that financed it when the interest rates were just at rock bottom, which would have been about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, thereabouts. And then newer neighborhoods are great, because one thing, that the house is going to be pretty good condition. So like you said about the one in the Colony, you drove by and said, this is a newer neighborhood. This thing could work. And then, like I said, you just need to go look for the newer houses that maybe were built 6, 7 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, somewhere in there, and market to those houses and look for the for sale by owners, because a lot of those have already gone through the realtor thing, and the realtor's like, yeah, you don't have any equity in here to pay me, and you don't have equity to pay your closing costs, so I don't know what you're going to do, that type of basis. But awesome. So are you, I know you've been very successful in this business. You've been very successful in subject to and buying properties in other directions. So if somebody's getting brand new or coming brand new into this business, as far as subject twos, what kind of advice would you give them on how to go forward in this business?
Golly, and you got to understand subject two, number one. So to this day, I wouldn't be where I'm at if I hadn't taken your class, Roger. So at least sitting through your class and understanding from beginning to end how the transaction works and all the parties involved. Once you have that exposure to what all's involved, it really makes approaching it a lot easier. But definitely line up your people first, because you don't want to have a homeowner interested and all of a sudden you're not sure how to execute on it. So it's really simple once you've taken. I'm guessing everybody here has taken your class.
I don't know. I know that Rocco has. I think Bridget has. Mike has. I think Mike has. Debbie and Kent. I think they have. And then this will be on the private part of the website. Bob has. Bob's on here. But you got 26 in your first 12 months after learning subject 2. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And don't, a lot of them, to your point, owner finance. Yes, we picked up some through owner financing. One of the things that, one of my strategies that allowed us to be real successful in getting people to sign up, to sign purchase agreements, is I always went in with the perspective of giving them what they wanted, meaning maybe they said, hey, you know what? And let's put it in today's dollars instead of 4 years ago. Maybe they're selling their house for $390. And that's what they want, owner finance or for sale by owner. I just want to get it under contract. And so I will present it as is buying it for the $390 they're asking for, but letting them know I'm not the buyer. Maybe I'm the buyer at the end of the day, but we work with a lot of funding sources. And so we approach it kind of like what you'll experience when you go buy a car, where they basically want you to fill out an application, and then they'll go run your credit and then come back to you with all the different offers of how you can, buy the car. I approach that with real estate. So I just want to lock down the contract and then get back, then let them simmer for 3 or 4 or 5 days or a week, and then come to them with funding offers. And it might be that the funding offers, yes, they want a $390, but maybe it's, man, I've got this one offer here. It's Joe Smith investment company, but you know what? I don't like their offer. They're only offering $330, and that's just no good. Your house is worth a lot more than that. But let me keep working. We've still got more funding offers coming in, and so I keep them somewhat baited before I set the hook. And when I set the hook, that's when I finally offer the subject to option to acquire their house that way, at whatever the price and total creative financing package looks like. But the key is, and I think that's why we took so many down, it was they were just excited that I was going to bring back to them multiple funding options when one of the funding options may ultimately be me. If it makes sense that we want to keep it in our portfolio, it may not. We just, it all depends on how our underwriting comes back with their data points. But that's an easy way to lock it down. I learned that trick from a power couple in Florida back about the same time I learned subject to. So I took both what I learned on subject to and what I learned from the power couple, and I merged it, and that's how we signed up so many people the contracts to buy their homes. They didn't all pan out. There were a lot that we decided to part ways because I just couldn't come up with a funder that would get close enough to where they wanted to be. And by approaching it that way, I'm not the bad guy. I'm just the middleman. I'm the guy going to bat for this family who wants $390 for their house, and I'm taking that data, kind of like the salesman at the car dealership, and I'm sending it off to all of my funding sources to because I've got a lot of funding sources, right? Which I do, and a lot of times there's only one way those deals would ever end for me, either a subject to or I would buy the house at a deep discount, one of the two. But yeah, that was it.
Wow, what a great job! So. Very good. So, Tommy, thank you so much for being on here. I did not know you were a structural engineer. That's pretty awesome. And you're an Aggie. So our daughter's an Aggie. That was my dream before I started a business. Is I wanted to be a large animal vet, but my brother and I started a business out of our garage, and it kind of went from there. Well, good deal, everybody. Thank you so much for being on here tonight. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us regarding title companies. Feel free to give me a call. Insurance companies. I have all those guys that are very that work very well with Subject 2. So servicers, RMLOs, whatever, and please, if you're doing wraps, make sure you're using an RMLO and a servicer. That will save you a lot of grief if you do that. But once again, thank you all for being on here. We appreciate it so much, and even Debbie and Kent that are way out of town right now. Thank you all for being on here today. So
to be here. Thank you.
All right, cool. All right, good deal. So everybody, thank you so much.